sighs, but never leave the stream of warm and permanent sand. So the days float through my eyes, but still the days seem the same. And these children that you spit on as they try to change their worlds are immune to your consultations. They're quite aware of what they're going through. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Where's the shame you've left us up to our next event? Time may change me. You can't twist time. Strange fascination, fascinating me. Our changes are taking the pace I'm going through. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Ooh, look out, you rock and rollers. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes. Pretty soon now you're gonna get older. Time may change me, but I can't trace time. I said that time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Alrighty. Thank you all. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight for our 2024 legislative kickoff for the Empower Maryland Energy Efficiency Act. So my name is Mariah Schreiner, and I am the climate campaign representative with the Maryland chapter of the Sierra Club. I also want to take a moment to introduce Alice and Maya with Advanced Maryland, who will be helping run tech for us this evening. I'm truly excited to be here tonight with so many wonderful folks for what promises to be a really energizing evening. I also want to extend a special welcome to the legislators and their staff who are in the audience this evening, including Delegate Chi, who will be speaking to us later this evening. Tonight on the call, we'll hear from Empower advocates and champions about what the Empower Maryland program is and why so many organizations have chosen Empower reform as a legislative priority, what we're advocating for in the 2024 session, and how this issue connects to the broader movement towards healthy homes in Maryland. We'll also have an opportunity for a short Q&A session, so I encourage you to share your questions in the chat as we go. Finally, we'll close out our event tonight highlighting some of the many ways that you can join us and get involved with the campaign. Whether this is your first Empower event, you've been involved with Empower since the beginning back in 2008, or anywhere in between, we hope that you'll leave tonight's kickoff feeling excited and ready to take action. Now, before I kick us off on our full agenda, I would love for us to take a moment to celebrate the audience that we have here tonight with a screenshot photo. So I invite you all to please take a moment and turn your camera on so we can see all of the wonderful folks here tonight. And Leslie with the Sierra Club will take a screenshot in just a moment as I count down to 0. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Leslie, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you all. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Josh Shulkin to provide an introduction to the campaign tonight. Josh, take it away.
Thanks a lot. And Emily or whoever it has the slideshow, Emily and I are sharing a slideshow. Can we get that queued up? While we're doing that, hey everybody, I'm Josh Tolkien, he, him pronouns. I'm the director of the Maryland chapter of the Sierra Club, and I'm really excited to be talking with you all tonight. So the Empower program is one of the most successful energy efficiency programs in the country. It has been in place for over 10 years. It has helped save Marylanders billions of dollars on our electricity bills, helped reduce our overall usage per capita. It's provided free energy audits. It has helped people switch and upgrade their lighting. It has been a success. It also is in significant need of an upgrade. As our thinking has evolved, as our understanding has evolved, we've realized that it's not just enough to be reducing electricity usage in our house. We also need to be reducing our overall pollution, how much we use our gas boilers and our furnaces. And for that reason, a big coalition came together last year to support legislation to update Empower. Can you go to the next slide? We came to the legislature talking to them about everything that Empower has accomplished, and also talking about the need to update the program together with Delegate Lily Chee, who sponsored the bill and championed it last year. We fought for a program that would help provide the types of rebates that people need to switch from gas to electric, to measure and guide that program to make sure it was accomplishing all of the state's greenhouse gas goals instead of just electricity reduction. The bill passed out of the Maryland House of Delegates, but it stalled in the Senate. So we are back again, twice as strong, passionate, and excited to get this important update to this program over the finish line. Now, I'll tell you, talking about an energy efficiency program is rarely sexy. Talking about updating a historic energy efficiency program is about the least sexy campaign you can envision. But we have to make energy efficiency and saving sexy. Why? Because it saves people money. And saving people money and protecting the climate at the same time is a recipe for success in fighting global warming and in really helping to build a strong equity-based movement. So we are excited to work with all of you to pass this important legislation. Later speakers will talk about some of the details and how you can get involved. I'm thrilled to see everybody here tonight. Now, sometimes advocates will say things like, last year we put in a bill, but the truth is we advocates don't introduce legislation. The people who introduce legislation are legislators, and we are incredibly lucky to have had the chance to work with Delegate Lily Chee, who has been a champion in power reform and is here tonight to share some words with us. So with that, I'm going to be turning it over to Delegate Lily Chee.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Sierra Club and PIRG, for the privilege of working with you and partnering with you on such a meaningful piece of legislation. We got super close last year. In fact, when we passed out of the entire House, we were only 2 days before Sunny died, which the Senate did not have, which did not give the Senate enough time to evaluate because we had many amendments and combine the two bills into one. So this year, I'm very pleased that it's not only coming back, but has a strong support of the Economic Matters Committee leadership. In fact, Vice Chair Brian Crosby is the primary sponsor, and I'm very much looking forward to supporting that and making sure it really crosses the finish line. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Well, I was asked to briefly talk about why I chose to sponsor this bill last year. And it was really not a hard decision to make because it checks off all the boxes in my book, on my list. And I said, you know, there are so many great reasons to support Empower reform legislation, but let me just boil it down to the triple bottom line, which is it advances our environmental, economic, and health agendas, right? First of all is the environmental agenda. What we call the Empower reform is also what we call the Empower 2.0 legislation. The Empower 2.0 legislation would focus on the greenhouse gas reduction as its primary goal, while also advancing energy and cost savings by requiring the Public Service Commission of Maryland to set goals and benchmarks for each utility company so we can actually measure progress. And the second is the economic agenda. The Empower Reform Bill would incentivize home electrification by leveraging billions of federal dollars, federal incentives. So Maryland consumers don't have to choose between state incentives and the federal incentives. And it does so through these three very concrete measures. One is by eliminating the current state subsidies and incentives for gas, propane, and oil for home heating, cooking, and cooling, etc. And also by promoting and providing rebates, credits, and deductions that are aligned with the federal incentives for all electric appliances and high efficiency appliances and systems for our home energy use. And the three is really by requiring DHCD, which is the Department of Health and the Department of Housing and Community Development, to establish a new multilingual outreach and navigation program to target those low-income households and those who speak English as a second language, so that the lower-income people and the people with LEP's limited English proficiency residents will be the first, not the last, to benefit from cost savings. And finally, it's the health benefits for all of us for home electrification that benefit from the home electrification movement. Beyond cost savings and climate goals, these measures will also lead to a cleaner and healthy home environment where we can breathe easier and reduce chronic illnesses such as asthma and other illnesses. So last year, I was very excited and proud to work with PIRG and the Sierra Club and all of the advocates. As I said, we got super close. And I'm really looking forward to working with you again this year to make sure we pass both chambers. And I know the governor's administration is also looking forward to advance our climate agenda together. So thank you again for having me, and thank you again for your advocacy.
Thank you, Delegate. Really appreciate you being here. I'm gonna pick up and talk more about some of these details on the bill. Apologies in advance if my children bust into the room screaming. They're not pleased that I'm doing this right now. I also wanted to shout out our huge coalition. On the first slide, you should see there's like 40 groups who are supporting this legislation this year, and a lot who are actually making it their #1 priority, many of which I've seen on the call. So I just wanted to say thanks for being here. Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, CASA, Baltimore Jewish Council, CCAN, the Audubon Society, Progressive Maryland, Chesapeake Physicians for Social Responsibility, the Howard County Climate Action Group, the League of Women Voters, Economic Action Maryland, Maryland Legislative Coalition. There's probably others I missed. Feel free to shout yourself out in the chat. And thanks again to our huge coalition. It's really because of all this interest that I think is where we're in such a strong position and hopefully can bring a really strong Empower Reform bill over the finish line. So I wanted to talk about some of the key provisions in the bill this year. So the goal is pretty simple with Empower Reform. We want to adjust the Empower program to prioritize reducing pollution while maintaining the programs focused on efficiency. We know that the cleanest energy of all is the energy we don't use. And while we talk a lot about electrification as a way to meet our climate goals and improve efficiency, and we're going to talk about it more during this call, we're really also pushing the utilities to prioritize long-lasting savings through weatherization, like repairing windows, adding insulation, the things that just reduce energy use overall. So we're calling on the General Assembly to make a few changes to the program. First, keep what works. We want to continue the effective incentives for rebates for energy audits, weatherization, and efficient appliances. Second, we want to add new incentives for switching to efficient electric appliances and home heating. So as the delegate and Josh alluded to, right now, you can't get incentives for switching to electric. So I have a gas furnace in my home, a really old gas furnace. If I were to buy new, I could actually get Empower incentives to buy a new gas furnace, but I couldn't access incentives to switch to electric, which we know is really where the state and the country is going. So it doesn't make sense. We're actually disincentivizing me to do that. So third, we want to set a clear goal to cut pollution. Right now, the goal is around electrical use. We want to shift that goal to a greenhouse gas goal. And then fourth, we want to stop spending ratepayer dollars on subsidies for polluting gas appliances and home heating. So stopping the incentives for gas appliances predominantly. We want to help low-income households take advantage of state and federal funds for energy efficiency and whole home retrofits by applying the changes that were to the utility run and power program to the low-income program run by the Department of Housing. So folks who were on last year know that there was a bill that passed and became a law to set clear goals for the low-income program. That program has underdelivered for low-income Marylanders for a long time. Low-income Marylanders have actually put in more to the program than they've gotten out. So that law that passed last year is attempting to change that. We also want to make sure that everything we're talking about applies to that program as well. And then finally, we want to reduce the cost to ratepayers by right-sizing utility profits. So to put a little finer point on that, Maryland utilities have profited significantly more than utilities in other top states for energy efficiency, 15 to 20% profits off the Empower program, where in other states, they profit about 5%. And then even on our like just general distribution rates with utilities, they profit around 9 or 10%. So 20% or 15% on Empower is really high. The House actually passed, in the bill the House passed last year, it actually cut some of the utility profits on the existing program, and we're hoping that that remains in the final bill. Just to where we're at in the strategy, we know that the Moore administration is supporting reform. The Public Service Commission has worked on the reform bill with the chair and vice chair of the Senate and House and Energy committees. So we feel like the legislature is committed to moving forward these reforms. We know, though, that the Maryland utilities will be fighting against some of the key provisions, specifically fighting to keep those incentives for gas appliances, and also figuring out ways to profit off the program as much as possible. So they weren't happy last year when the House cut into those profits, and we expect that to be a big fight again. And I just wanted to be clear that while we talk a lot about electrification, this program isn't the entire way the state is working to electrify our homes. We need to do a lot more. The state is going to need new funding mechanisms to help transition our housing stock to electricity, especially for low-income Marylanders and for renters. So the Empower program serves as a helpful piece, but it's not the whole puzzle. And then going into the session, our strategy has a couple key points. One, we want to build a big, powerful coalition. Check. We're still growing. If you're not already, please join the coalition. We want to just run a big, visible campaign to celebrate what should be a huge success for the state and for Maryland homeowners. We'll be having a lot of different activities that you'll hear from the grassroots team on soon. And then we also want to really hammer home those 2 points of contention, right? We really do want to fight to end subsidies for fossil fuels. It just doesn't make sense at this day and age that ratepayers are actually spending money to expand fossil fuel use. And we also want to fight to lower the cost of Empower by cutting those profits. So those will be two of the key messages we're talking a lot about throughout the session. So again, we hope you'll stick around and join us as we launch the campaign. We wanted to invite Joel Rosenberg from Rewiring America to the call, and he is here today, who is an expert on building electrification as well as the federal rebates and incentives that are now accessible to Marylanders or will be soon. So I'm going to turn it over to Joel to talk about that.
Thanks, Emily. So the next slide here. So I am Joel Rosenberg. I'm from Rewiring America, and we're trying to help everybody switch to all electric appliances that can be run on renewable power. And one of the key ideas in Maryland around the Empower program is to align it better with the Inflation Reduction Act. So a lot of you probably know this, but just as a quick review, a large chunk of money from the Inflation Reduction Act goes to individual states. And so Maryland's going to get $137 million that is mostly targeted for low and moderate income households. But that includes around $69 million for home efficiency. So that's like weatherization and stuff like that. And the other $68 million will be for switching to electric appliances, which are inherently more efficient than fossil fueled appliances. So for reference, a gas water heater can get at most 100% of the energy from the fossil fuel into the water, but a heat pump water heater can get maybe 300 or 400% of the, for every unit of energy you put in, you get 3 or 4 units of heating out. So electric appliances are just more efficient. And so Maryland's going to get almost $140 million to help with that. But they're generous incentives, and let's just estimate that each household gets around 10 grand. That 137 million will serve around 14,000 households or something like that. So that's great, but it's not enough. At the same time, the Inflation Reduction Act also includes tax credits for everyone who owes taxes. You can't actually get money back if you don't owe any taxes, but if you owe some taxes, you can get up to $2,000 back on a heat pump or a heat pump water heater, and up to $1,200 back if you do weatherization, insulation, air sealing, even an energy audit, you can get some money back. And that actually renews annually every year through 2031. So maybe if you get a heat pump this year and you do some weatherization this year, you can get up to $3,200. And then next year you get a heat pump water heater and you do some more weatherization, you can get another $3,200 all the way through 2031. And that's a great way for Maryland to get additional money into the program. But it doesn't require you to, get a gas appliance if you already have gas. You can get an electric appliance regardless of what you have. And so this updating of Empower is just to align to what everyone was saying so far, that we want to switch off fossil fuels. So we need more money for electric appliances, and reforming Empower can do that. So you see at the bottom, we have on our website, rewiringamerica.org, you can go check out the IRA calculator to enter in some data of your own and get a sense of how much you might be eligible for. And if you go to the next slide, we also have a new tool. If you go to pop.rewiringamerica.org, so it stands for Pace of Progress, you can go and play around and see, relative to what the expected, regular improvements in sales of water heaters and heat pumps, etc., what the projected purchasing rate is, how many more we have to sell each year if we want to get 100% of sales if we want to get to 100% installed base by 2050, right? So if these things last 15 years, then you kind of want 100% replacement by 2035. And so to get there, we have to sell, in this example here, this is just for 2026. I use that example because that is the Empower deadline. It's for 24 to 26. And so you see, we have to get almost more than 200,000 installed. If we just go at our regular business as usual, we'll get around 150,000. So we're short 66,000. And so the idea is that if we can reform Empower Maryland, we can get those numbers up and get closer to the pace that we need to be on. And you can go to this website and dial it into county or even towns that I believe are over 50,000 residents, and see what your local installation requirements will be and try and muster support that way. So that's all I have to say. Who's next?
Thank you, Joel. I can take it away from here. We are coming to our Q&A section of tonight's evening. So thank you to all who are sending in questions. If you have questions, please add them to the chat. You can either direct message them to Alice or send them to everyone in the chat. And we will pull both Josh and Emily back to answer questions this evening. So I think we'll stop the screen share if possible, and then we'll turn it over to them. Perfect. So the first question I have this evening is, I think, a great question for you, Emily. Can you talk a little bit more about the health impacts of fossil fuel appliances and home heating?
Yeah, sure. And Delegate Chi mentioned this. There's been a lot of growing news about burning fossil fuels in your home, particularly around gas stoves and the pollution it could cause. Burning fossil fuels anywhere creates toxic air pollution. So there was a recent study that found that indoor air pollution from gas stoves alone was responsible for 12.7% of all childhood asthma cases. And there was a separate meta-analysis found that living in a home with a gas stove increases a child's risk of lifetime asthma by about 32%. So I have a 4-year-old son. He's already been to the ER 3 times for childhood asthma, and he doesn't even have severe asthma. So, really the costs to our health, our pocketbooks, and our planet are truly outrageous. A recent study also by CCAN and Green and Healthy Homes Initiative came out a couple months ago. We could maybe find the link, found that burning fossil fuels in our home actually creates more pollution, I think, than all the power plants in the state. So it produces bad pollution indoor and air and out. There was a question in the chat about how does this apply to solar? So one of the reasons, right now we produce some of our electricity from dirty energy sources too. It might be better to burn it out somewhere else than in your home, but ultimately, if we transition our grid to 100% renewable energy, wind power, solar power, rooftop solar, community solar, industrial solar, we'll be ready to have it 100%. If we still have gas pumping into our homes, you can't make that transition as easy. So that's sort of the goal. And as Joel mentioned, in addition to be better for your health, this technology just works better. Heat pumps are 3 to 5 times more efficient as a technology in itself, saving a lot of money. So it's a win-win-win.
Thank you, Emily. And I want to turn it over to either of you now to answer the question in the chat. Can people who pay rent and pay taxes get any tax credits through the IRA? And maybe just answering more broadly, like how Empower works for folks who rent their homes, not own.
I can respond to the first part about it. So some Empower programs are targeted at homeowners, and some are targeted at renters. And so first, the ones that are targeted at renters, there's a rapid energy audit that is focused on things that the individual has control over, from lighting to weather stripping around your windows, even insulation around a furnace or boiler that you don't own can actually help significantly save you money. And we're going to be pushing to expand the number of options that are provided to renters. Then there are things that only the homeowner can do. And I will say we are on a much bigger organizing strategy about how to empower renters to be organizing to press building owners. But this bill is a carrot, not a stick. So this bill wouldn't require a building owner to do something. That gets us into more of an organizing strategy. I cannot speak to the IRA benefits and renters versus owners. I don't know, Emily, or if we wanted to jump back to Joel.
Well, Joel probably could. Yeah, I'd say another thing it does do for renters is for large multifamily housing. We need to crack the nut for individual units, but for large multifamily housing, there are requirements that they reduce their energy use by 2030 under the Climate Solutions Now on. So that's a requirement, and then they can access the Empower incentives to do so. So a lot of renters are working to sort of organize their landlords to take advantage of these incentives, but that would be the one situation where it very clearly provides an incentive for them to hit some state mandates. But Joel can probably talk about the IRA benefits. I know they are accessible to renters for non-permanent devices.
I mean, it's complicated. Yeah, so certainly your car, you're eligible for the Inflation Reduction Act has a $7,500 rebate on new electric vehicles there's a couple of requirements that you can look online, but that's eligible, as well as for used automobiles, for used EVs, I should say. For the other appliances, we are working on trying to get portable heat pumps and portable window units eligible. They are currently not eligible for, it's almost like a technicality where, because there's no Energy Star category for portable heat pumps, they haven't defaulted to just allowing those. And so you can't take the tax credit on those yet, but we are fighting for that, and that is pending. You also are, I don't think you're eligible for a rebate on the induction burners. You could buy like a single portable induction burner that plugs into just a regular wall outlet and use that for cooking. I did that for years as a renter and just put it on top of my gas stove and barely turned on the stove. It's only like $100, so it's not eligible for a rebate. But I believe that you are eligible to get an energy audit even as a renter, and you should talk to your landlord about that, because an energy audit, so the Empower program I think it's through Empower, but it's like Pepco and BGE will pay $300 towards an energy audit, and then you have to pay the extra $100 out of the $400 total, and then you can take a $30 tax credit on the $100 you paid. So, and an audit will come in, and this is true for homeowners as well as renters. They'll come and they'll do a whole test of your house to see how leaky it is, and tell you about other upgrades that you're eligible for, as well as appliances that might be nearing end of life and need replacement. So that's something I recommend everybody do, just to get a sense of where their house is. It's a good first step towards making improvements.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. Josh, I think, would you be able to talk more about how the Empower program ties into the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act, particularly for multifamily housing?
Absolutely. So first, as a context point, the direct emissions, burning gas in our homes, accounts for around between 18 to 20% of the pollution in Maryland, and more gas is burned in our homes than is burned in power plants. So broadly speaking, the Climate Solutions Now Act committed Maryland to reducing our greenhouse gases 60% by the year 2031, which is 7 years away. So we are on a rapid course to do significant reductions in pollution. The Climate Solutions Now Act also included a provision Emily just talked about, super sexily known as BEPS, or the Building Energy Performance Standard. This is a requirement that buildings over 35,000 square feet reduce their, it's called direct emissions, things you burn on site, gas, heating oil, propane, reduce the pollution of that by an average of 20%. So for larger buildings, multifamily buildings that qualify, and a lot of them do, those building owners will be required to make that reduction between 2025 and 2030. Empower is the first of several steps to make sure that we're providing both the carrot as well as the stick to target incentive programs to reduce the cost and to encourage strategies that reduce cost and improve health. So this is, I guess you would say, a down payment on the much larger investment that we will need over the course of several years. For smaller multifamily buildings, the carrot from Empower is still there, and we will be pushing the state to maximize the investment in those multifamily dwellings, because they're some of the hardest but most important, because those are often marginalized communities that might be suffering from a variety of home health ailments, not just burning gas, but also lead, asbestos, mold, and where the investments in retrofits can bring so many benefits to our renters and community members.
Thank you, Josh. We have a couple logistical questions. Do we know when the bill will be submitted?
Within the next couple
Well,
of
let me
weeks.
jump in on this. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
From what I know, the Senate Triple E Committee, which is led by my district senator, Brian Feldman, is planning to meet with the Vice Chair, Brian Crosby, of Economic Matters over this particular bill. So I know they are taking it seriously, and I expect the bill to be filed soon, because there's strict deadline about bill filing, so it shouldn't be long.
Thank you, Delegate Shi. Emily, is there anything you want to add on top of that? All right. And with Senator Feldman and Delegate Crosby sponsoring the bill this year, what kind of opposition do we expect? And will it still be a challenge to pass like it was last year?
Well, knock on wood, we feel confident that we are well positioned to pass the bill this year. I think the legislature understands they need to make these reforms, but we do anticipate push. It's more of like, what version of the bill? Will there be weakening amendments? Will we pass the strongest version of the bill? You know, can we actually ban the fossil fuel subsidies, or do they stick around and statute is allowable for a while? Can we reduce the utility profits or not? Or do they find new ways to try to profit more off the program? Can they figure out other shortcuts to make their jobs easier? So the devil will be in the details, but we are confident we will pass a bill, and there will be a bill that passes we will support. It's just a matter of, can we get the strongest bill possible? And that's where, you know, this group really will be one of the deciding factors, because we all know how powerful and how many lobbyists some of the utility companies have in Annapolis.
Thank you all. And we have a couple of questions coming in the chat on how we can support the bill and what actions we can take to really push outreach on the bill. And I'm so excited to see those questions come in. And I will actually just table those for just a moment because we have a whole section on the call just after this Q&A to really dive into how we can take action. But before we close our Q&A, I know we weren't able to get to all of the questions today, but there are so many great questions that y'all were sharing today, and we would love to be in touch to kind of help answer any further questions people have as well. But before we close the Q&A, I wanted to turn it over to the panelists right now, and if you had any final remarks to share.
Great questions about how the program will work, about outreach, about how we're going to spread the word, and also a lot of really good points about how this bill is the start and there's so much more to do. So I think I would just say, let's make this bill as good as possible, and really, really excited to continue this important fight with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I will now turn it over to Andrea from Interfaith Power and Light.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrea Orozco. I am the advocacy lead for Interfaith Power and Light. We represent faith communities across Maryland who are joining with all of you tonight to call on our leaders to strengthen and empower. So I want to take a moment to share what brings our communities to this fight and to call to mind what connects us to each other.
So thank you to all who have received.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so I would like to take a moment to share what brings our communities to this fight and to call to mind what connects us to each other. So let's go ahead and take 3 deep breaths together. So our breath connects us to each other and helps us get into a common rhythm. Our breath links us to all that has breath, and even the trees and plants who exhale oxygen for us to inhale. So all living things are breathing in conversation with each other. We are in this fight because burning methane gas is harming all that has breath, and Maryland's energy efficiency program should be making things better for us, not any worse. So I'm asking each of you listening tonight to use your breath and speak out. Let's raise our voices in a fierce, clear call for repair and protection. So how can you get involved? Together, we've already initiated significant moves, and tonight is about building on that momentum. As we look ahead, I want to highlight ways in which each one of you can take action and contribute to our collective success. We will share links and details for all of these ways to take action in the document, in the chat, and share it in a follow-up email, so no need to worry about those just yet. So here's how you can make a difference. First step, mark your calendars for the Legislative Summit on January 31st. This is a prime opportunity to stay informed, connect with like-minded advocates, and strengthen our collective voice. Second, connect with your legislators. In our follow-up email, we'll include an action alert where you can send a letter directly to your legislators urging them to support Empower Reform this session. We also hope that you'll join many of our organizations in our upcoming lobby nights, where we'll be connecting you directly with your legislators about our priorities, including Empower. Third, help raise awareness about Empower in your community. So sharing our message at the grassroots level is key. Leverage the power of social media to spread the word by liking, sharing, and commenting about Empower to broaden our reach and connect with a diverse audience, including by posting about today's event. So you can also spread awareness by inviting us to present alongside you at your local organizations, faith communities, congregations, or any community groups. Feel free to contact my colleagues Mariah or Emily to learn more about how to set something up. And then finally, come to the hearing and submit your testimony. Once hearings on the Empower bill are scheduled, we'll definitely make sure to let you know. We'll want you to show up to voice your support by submitting testimony. I know it can be hard to imagine a clean energy future where all that has breath is cared for, but seeing all of you here tonight, I know that we can do it together. The poet Arundhati Roy writes, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." So let's keep that momentum going and turn our collective passion into impactful action. Empower relies on each one of us playing a role in this journey. Together, we can make history and create positive change for our community and beyond. So keep an eye out for our follow-up email with all of the details on how you can continue your involvement. And thank you again for joining us tonight and for being part of this incredible movement. I hope you all have an incredible rest of your evening.
Thank you all, and that will close our program this evening, and we're so excited just to keep going and pass Empower Reform this year together. And I will drop my email in the chat if you have any further follow-up questions.